So thank you so much. So who likes to make money? Stand up. Who wants to make money? Stand up, stand up, stand up. For those that are not standing, I have a support group for you. All right. Now, who owns cryptocurrency? Do you want to stand up? Okay. Who has participated in an ICO, has tokens? The number keeps getting smaller. Okay. All right, just trying to gauge what's happening in the crowd here. So I only have a couple minutes, but I want to talk about how we're making money using that. And so Prakash told you a little bit about my story. And so I'm not going to get into that, but I have had a couple successful exits. I spent 20 years or so working in institutional finance back east. I had an exit to Standard & Poor's over 20 years ago, and then another one to BNP Paribas Asset Management in 2006. And 2006 was really important because what we sold in 2006 to BNP sold in 2010 for 1/3 the price, because 2007 and 2008 reminds me a lot about what's happening. And Mohan and I chatted about this on the phone yesterday. Who's seen the movie The Big Short? Okay. Selena Gomez in there talks about CDOs and a definition of CDOs. If you haven't watched the movie, I definitely recommend that you do so, because ICOs are very interesting vehicles for raising money. So what I do with SurgeXLR is I really help companies try to increase their revenue flow with organic methods. Really, most of the time it's like cleaning out your closet. It looks really messy when you have a lot of stuff in there, but when you get only a couple of outfits and you're down with a hoodie and a ball cap and a t-shirt, it makes getting dressed and getting out in the morning really easy. The other thing I do is I help folks prepare to fundraise. So I help them distill their story and make it a very captivating story. If they don't have excitement and passion for what they're doing, they're never going to be able to communicate that excitement to angels or to VCs so that they're going to be able to get the money. They also have to prepare all of their materials and be ready to do due diligence. And a lot of people, when they go up and down Sand Hill Road, they get hurt because they're not ready and really prepared to do that. And the third thing that I do is I help companies exit. A lot of times companies exit at the wrong time. You want to be exiting on the upside, not the downside. You never want to hear the words, your nearest exit or your best exit was behind you. So this morning we talked a lot about different blockchain uses, and it's not all about crypto. IBM has been very gracious with me and brings me in to talk about how to monetize things all the time. And this evening I'm having dinner with some folks from IBM celebrating the Chinese New Year, and Jack Dwan, who uses blockchain to authenticate wine shipments into China, is going to be one of the fellow guests tonight. And he has a fascinating story. He's up in American Canyon. So the first thing he's doing is bringing wine into China using blockchain and authenticating to make sure that Napa Valley's finest is really what's in that bottle when you open it up thousands of miles away. And then he's moving into pharmaceuticals and luxury goods. So there's lots of different uses: fish, financial transactions, real estate, healthcare. But let's talk about crypto for a little bit, because there's $700 billion that's been put into cryptocurrencies. And that's not backed by any government. So it's fiat. So what does that mean? That could come crashing down at any point. So those folks that have done an ICO, ICOs are very interesting. And I want to spend the majority of my time talking about initial coin offerings. Has anybody read the DAO report, or the DAO report? If you haven't, I urge you to do so. It's 18 pages, most of it's footnotes, but what it says in there, and I'm going to read you some of these things, is that they talk a little bit about securities and securitization. So back in 1946, so those of you that have studied finance, 1946 there was a ruling called the Howey test, and that's what's become what is a security. And you cannot sell it publicly or privately without registering it with the SEC. There are two exemptions. Those are Reg A or Reg D. So ICOs are securities. So we need to really think about what the purpose of an ICO is. And the purpose of an ICO, if it is to raise money to fund development of a protocol, you really need to think about what those, I'm going to call token economics are, so that you do have a value behind it. So in the SEC report in July last year, they said that with a ruling regarding decentralized autonomous organizations, they said that if anyone participates in that without registering it, they can send you to jail. But we're going to let the DAO pass this time. So you could be sued, you could be fined, you could go to jail. And they decided not to litigate DAO because that would take 2 to 3 years. It would wind up in the courts. And they just wanted to kind of see what would happen with that. So it has profound implications for anyone that has done an ICO, that has partaken in that. They're guilty of a felony if they haven't registered it. Or if you own the tokens, you could also go to jail. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So we really need to think about the real intrinsic value of what an ICO is. So in the South, they have this saying, when does a pig become a hog? Does anybody know when a pig becomes a hog? It's when it's time to make bacon. So that's what you see on the back here on the slide, okay? So there has to be enough in this protocol for it to have intrinsic value. So it's really kind of important for us to kind of think about that as we go through these ICOs. So Jay Clayton runs the SEC, and Chris Giancarlo runs the CFTC. And they sent out about 100 love letters on Valentine's Day, which are subpoenas. And Jay Clayton has mentioned that he's not only going against the folks that are doing this, the corporations and the employees, but also the attorneys that are representing them. And I do know some attorneys that have received those. So I'm just saying for everybody just to be careful on this because you could be fined or sued or go to jail. So if you are really thinking about a recipe for success, I'm going to suggest that you think about traditional forms of financing, which is selling a product or service. It's the cheapest way to get the money because you don't have to pay it back, and you don't have to give up equity in your company. So it's kind of a simple idea, and maybe it's because I'm getting older that I kind of think about traditional forms of financing. But if you think about what investors want to look at, we want to look at great traction. So test your idea in the marketplace, get some traction, go to friends and family, get some seed money, then go to angels, really distill your story. Maybe do some IP protection on your portfolio and build a strong team. It's really the team that really, why you, why now? Blockchain is definitely going to be bigger than the internet. What can you do to take these ideas and build great businesses? So who are our panelists coming up? We have a fascinating panel. I'm going to invite all of them to come up.